I'm Suzanne Henson. I'm from the campus of Littleton, Colorado. Thank you all for being with me today. We are at RDO's Live Fully Equipped for Parents. Before we get started, I'm going to open up in a word of prayer, so join with me. Dear Lord, I just thank you for today. I thank you for the time that we have. You know, as parents, time is precious, so I thank you that we're able to be here, that we're able to have all of our campuses sharing because of technology on one day. And I would just ask that you would help me say the words that you want me to say and have parents have their ears open to the parts that they need to hear as well. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so again, I am Suzanne Henson. I am from RDOs of Littleton, and I am going to be sharing today with you about homeschooling with RDOs for your special needs children. So the agenda for today is I'm going to talk real quick about my background, my homeschooling journey. We're going to define special needs and then talk about which boat you guys are in. Homeschooling for special needs. Talk about community, how RDOs can help, and about relationship. So, first point is my background. I'm going to talk real quick about where my passion was born for special needs. You should see 3 pictures on your screen. The first is of a cute little boy in about 4th grade, and this is my brother Joey. I am the older sister, and about 4th grade, all of a sudden, my parents were frustrated, extremely frustrated. They didn't know what was going on and why he couldn't do anything right and why he was having trouble in school and why we were getting phone calls, and it was just kind of like the height of frustration before we figured out that he had ADHD and some learning disabilities. And as the older sister, I got to live through this whole experience and see both sides of it. I got to see as a family member and watch my parents with the emotional up and downs of raising a child with needs, and also got to see how they dealt with it and how they coped, and in the end, how they succeeded. Second picture, that is my family. It was probably about 1981. I got a camera for my 9th birthday, and I am taking the picture. So in the background, you will see a adult woman in a purple shirt. This is my Aunt Kathleen. She has passed away many years now, but she had a number of special needs, and that started in childhood. Among the top of the list were epilepsy and mental retardation, which we would now say mentally challenged. And my grandparents raised her, took care of her, and towards the end of her life had some opportunities they were able to give to her as an adult who was not able to live on her own. And I got to see my grandmother fight and advocate for special needs. So that also shaped me. The last picture right there is my cousin Billy. My cousin Billy had trauma at birth, and he was paralyzed on half his body. I don't know if you can see from the picture, but there's kind of like this white area. He had a trach, and I got to be part of, I remember when he was born and the news hitting about my aunt going to have a child with significant special needs. I was a small part of helping him learn to eat, helping him learn to talk and walk. I was also there for some medical procedures where they would have to clean out his trach and replace it and things like that. So definitely some experience that shaped me and made me passionate about advocating for special needs education and special needs children. All right, so the next slide I'm going to show you is I'm just going to tell you the ending of the story right up front. So my brother, and this is my mom's words, the kid who just couldn't do anything right in school grew up to be very successful in the U.S. Navy. He's now retired. He got married. He became a wonderful father of twin girls, and he now owns his own business and organic farm. So that's a picture when he was in the Navy, and that was his new fiancée, Liz, who is now my sister-in-law. So, happy ending to a very rough childhood and experience in school. And part of that made me look at how can we better meet the needs of special needs kids? How can we better educate them? Does it have to be this way? Watching my brother go through many trials during school, watching my parents all go through emotional up and downs, did it have to be this way? Was there another way? And that led to one of the reasons we decided to homeschool ourselves. Real quick, I have a 4-year in psychology, and I intended to be a teacher. I wasn't quite sure if I would just go straight into special education or do mainstream multi-subject education and then go into special education or school psychology. Anyway, long story short, I've had a number of courses and trainings and observations, and then when we decided to adopt, went through all the adoption foster parent training, which in our case was a minimum of 80 hours of classes, and many of them were special needs. And then, of course, I'm a parent of special needs, so you have that. All right, next I want to talk about my homeschooling journey, why we chose to homeschool, how we got here, because I will tell you this was not my original plan. I thought that I would teach in the school system. I was hoping I would teach at a Christian school. My kids would go with me. It would all be wonderful. And when my twins were born, pretty much our whole world changed. So on the left, you will see a picture of my special family. My husband and I are in the middle, and my twin boys, Thomas and Jacob, are 16. They had a condition called twin-to-twin transfer syndrome, and they were had trauma in the womb. They were born early and dramatically by emergency C-section. We were thrown off the deep end into a pool of special needs. So many of those things we didn't know when they were born. We were told that they just didn't know what was going to happen with them. From the start, we didn't know if they were going to live. We didn't know if they were going to walk. We just didn't know anything. So it changed my whole perspective about what's important to my husband and I, what's important to God, and what we wanted for their childhood. And what I didn't want was what my brother had experienced. So next up, we have Hannah in the blue sweater. She's 13. And then we have Sarah, who's 12, and Joshua, who is 10. Sarah and Joshua joined our family after being adopted from Russia. Sarah was 8 and Joshua was 5. They have their own pool of special needs. And so what you can see on the right is if I just made a list of all of our diagnoses in our family from our children, actually from all 7 of us, this is what we would look like on paper. Cerebral palsy, speech delay, anxiety, sensory issues, autism spectrum, trauma, abuse, fetal alcohol syndrome, dyslexia, dysgraphia, ADD, memory issues, attachment issues, and it goes on and on. Not sure I wanted to see my family presented in this way, but on paper this is what we look like. And I think it's important to put a face with a diagnosis, because to God, we are people. And it really doesn't matter. It's kind of arbitrary what we put on paper or what testing we have done or what diagnoses we get. That's not who we are to God. And so I always try to remember that with my children is how does God see them, and that's how I want to see them. Okay, so I told you real quick that I did not intend to homeschool. I thought homeschooling was okay for other people. It was just not going to be our path. And my husband, when the boys started, my twin boys started preschool, fairly quickly I realized we were not the typical family. We did not have typical kids, and we did not fit in the box. And my husband, who had some learning disabilities growing up and struggled in school, said to me, I think we should homeschool. And I said, I don't think so. But I will pray about it, and I will let you know what God leads me to. Well, the joke's on me, because within a week, I had a very clear black and white answer that this was our path. And I was more shocked than anybody. But what I can tell you is fast forward, let's see, please. So this will be our 12th year of homeschooling. Fast forward 12 years, and this has been the best choice and has blessed our family more than any other choice that we have made for our family. So I would just encourage you that if you haven't decided if you're going to homeschool your special needs child, to pray about it and let the Lord lead you, because he has a plan for your child, and he knows your child like no one else. And so you can't go wrong by asking for his help and his direction. So we decided to homeschool because we had children that didn't fit in the box. Little did I know that pattern would follow. All 5 of my children have some type of diagnosis, and so, or diagnosis. So they would have all struggled in a traditional school setting in one way or another. And we have been able to sidestep or overcome most of those challenges just by deciding to homeschool. And again, I can't tell you that that was my leading and my intuition, because I've already told you that it wasn't. It was God. There's no way I would have homeschooled without him saying that this was his path, and all the glory goes to him. Okay, special needs defined. What are we talking about here? Special needs require extra care. I mean, I don't think most people would argue with that, but what are we talking about when we say that someone has special needs? So this is what Wikipedia says special needs means. In the United States, special needs is a term used in clinical, diagnostic, and functional development to describe individuals who require assistance for disabilities that may be medical, mental, or psychological. In the U.S., 18.5% of all children under the age of 18, which is over 3.5 million, had special health care needs as of the year 2005. More narrowly, special needs is a legal term applying in foster care in the U.S. It's a diagnosis used to clarify children as needing more services than those children without special needs who are in the foster care system. So these are a couple of definitions that Wikipedia gives. What about HSLDA? What do they consider a special need? Well, generally, they define a special needs child as one who is working 2 or more years behind grade level in his subjects. A child who has been receiving special education services, or a child with any other disability that greatly impacts his or her ability to learn. Okay, so what are special needs? So let's just, this is obviously not an exhaustive list of all special needs, but I've tried to put together just a good idea of what we're talking about, what kind of things could be included, what's considered a special needs. So physically, we could be talking about anything from cerebral palsy, missing limbs, use of a wheelchair, dysgraphia, which is trouble writing, epilepsy, illness and disease could cause or could be claimed as a special need. Asthma, especially if it's significant, right? Food allergies. We have a number of kids at our campus that have severe food allergies, and so certainly that's classified as a special need. Developmental, things like dyslexia, Down syndrome, learning disabilities, developmental delays, ESL, or writing or reading delays, and then the gifted population. Did you know that they are also a special need? Basically anything that falls outside of what we would call typical. For behavior and emotional, things like anxiety disorder, ADD or ADHD, food issues, trauma, abuse, depression, autism spectrum related disorders, foster care or adoption issues. And then for sensory, it could be things like deafness, blindness, and this also could be trouble with hearing, trouble with seeing, as well as obviously complete deafness or blindness, and then sensory issues, SPD. Most of the time, parents who choose to homeschool a child with special needs are usually not on the severity, their child's special needs are not significant, maybe is a better way to put that. But then sometimes that's exactly why they decide to homeschool, especially if you had medical issues for a child. Okay, so why would someone homeschool a special needs child? Most of the same reasons why parents choose to homeschool their typical children. There are cases where parents say, this is our #1 reason why we've decided to homeschool. But I can tell you, at least in our family, even though it was one of the top 3 reasons, we had several other reasons that were huge factors. So it wasn't just because we had kids with special needs. So many times families have a number of, or more than one reason why they decide to homeschool. But what is the primary reason? So I've just put up a list of what the top 10 primary reasons parents cite for homeschooling. Better education, religious reasons, poor environment at school, family reasons, morals and characters, to develop moral and characters in their children. They object to what's being taught. They think the school isn't challenging their child. They don't like the school or the school choices. There's behavior problems either with their child or other children. But 1 out of 8 families that homeschool cite a special needs child as their primary reason. That is the first reason and the most important reason why they've decided to homeschool. So I can tell you from our experience, it has been a much better experience to homeschool than had my children kind of been forced into the traditional education box that they would have if we had put them in public school. So the other thing I wanted to talk about real quick was just a personal, I kind of call it the personal myth of mine about homeschooling versus sending your child to school, and that's whether it's public school, private school. I had this idea, and maybe some of you share the same idea, that my child was a lot to handle. My child was challenging. That my child required an amount of physical and emotional energy that was more than I had to offer often. And my thought was, this is why I need to send this child to school, because I need time for me to recharge, and I will be a better parent if I have more time alone. So I can tell you what God has shared with me, and that is that I don't necessarily need time for me. I need time for him. And I need time where he refreshes me. And I need to ask him for the strength, the emotional strength, the physical strength, and energy to homeschool my child and to be with my child. That I'm looking at it in the wrong way when I say what I need is time away from my child to deal with my child. And what he showed me in my journey was, you are exactly where I want you to be, and you're exactly where your child needs you to be. I know it's exhausting. I know what you're facing. I am here for you. Come to me. Do not rely on yourself for the things that you're not able to do. When you're tired, when you're weak, when you don't have another ounce of energy, come to me. So I have a friend who said to me, you know, when I became a Christian, my life at that time brought me to my knees where I needed to be at the throne of God. Homeschooling keeps me there, keeps me on my knees, seeking God. I feel like this is just another level. Homeschooling special needs kids means it is not a choice. It is a requirement. It's a necessity that I spend time with God each day, and that I continue to seek him and seek his direction for my children and for myself, because there is no way that I could do this on my own. So if that is encouraging to you today, I'm thankful. It's just nice to share personal journeys with you guys. So this is where I ask what boat you are in. Are you considering homeschooling your special needs child, or have you decided? So I kind of put down my blanket answer for either way. Congratulations, you've decided to homeschool your child with special needs. What a blessing for both of you. RDOS Academies would love to partner with you on your journey. Or, I'm considering it. I'm unsure if I am able, should, or qualified. I'm going to give you my full disclosure right up front. I'm biased. I think you can, you should, and you are qualified. And at RDOS Academies, we would love to help you.